Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Remette RT TwoFace knife. Why do they call it that? It took me a sec to figure it out in the unboxing, but the front flipper, it comes pre-installed back here. This flipper tab is actually removable and can be transferred back here to make it a standard flipper. It's kind of an interesting idea. There's also some stuff to consider, and I have some suggestions on how this could be made slightly better, but it is pretty interesting, and they did a pretty good job of it. And carrying this and flipping it, I don't know, probably 200 times, it did stay. So that's pretty cool. Thanks so much to Remette for sending this in. I will link it down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. I'll show that flipper tab exchange or switch here in just a moment. Let's get through some quick specs here. Overall length of the RT TwoFace is coming in at about 7.65 inches, blade length about 3.35, and cutting edge about 3, maybe slightly over 3 1/16. It doesn't carry larger. It feels like a larger knife than it is. I think maybe just because of the open ergonomic zones. I would have guessed 8 inches, but it's actually shorter than that. So it doesn't feel like a medium-sized knife, but it is. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under original goat and others. So up against the 80-10 and my own Excalibur, it's not nearly as big as these knives, but it's still, like I said, it's not a small knife. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Definitely kind of in between these two. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. There we go. How's the action? Right out of the box, actually, I got so distracted in the unboxing that I didn't really test the action too much. And after the video, I noticed the first few times I opened and closed it. Maybe this is just with the DLC coded version. They do list this as a DLC coding on their website. Maybe it's just with this version, but the action felt slightly, I don't know if gritty is the right word. I could just feel it. To be honest with you, I can still feel it, but it's going away. So it kind of has that, that kind of feeling to it. But the action itself is smooth and the detent is reliable, both in terms of, the thumb stud deployment. I wish the thumb studs were placed slightly higher so I could get underneath them a little better. They have to be positioned there. Well, maybe you could change where the frame is. The studs are actually the stops. So they're positioned there in combination with how the frame is shaped so that they connect up here. So they're okay. They are comfortable to interact with, but you can slip off of them because of how you have to interact with them to break the detent. My favorite way to deploy it is either by utilizing the base of that fuller right there to do the reverse flick, or simply by front flipping it. And also, I think the best way to deploy it is honestly by utilizing the flipper tab in the rear flipper position, which I will demonstrate here in just a moment when we do the hardware check. Overall, the action's fine. It's no better or worse than what I typically expect from knives like this. I would prefer that out of the box, the pivot action felt a little bit better, but I'm also I've become a very nitpicky reviewer, right? So take that with a grain of salt. Overall, the action's good, and the access to the crossbar, or not the crossbar, the frame lock is also very good. So let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is slightly thicker, but it is also contoured, which translates really well ergonomically. Length and height up against the PM2. This is a pretty easy object to carry. It's full titanium, so it's going to carry a little heavier than the standard versions of these knives, but it doesn't really take up much more room in your pocket than the Para 3 outside of being slightly thicker. Let's go ahead and weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? We are looking at DLC coded M398. There's something else on their website that says something about an oxide coating, but it also says DLC. I would like specific clarification on that on the website. I want more detail on what is or is not blade and frame. They have done DLC in the past, so there's no reason not to assume that that's not what this is, but I'd still like clarification on that stuff. I think that would be great. Your standard version of this knife is not DLC coated. Titanium, and then we have The M390 blade, which we'll go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness since the calipers are right here and I don't want to lose them. 155,000, so on the thicker side. And then do we have milling for weight reduction? Yes, we do. There's a little bit of milling for weight reduction in there, so that's nice. Sorry about that. The weight on this guy is coming in, that's fluid ounces. Sorry, one moment here. Kilograms, there we go. 4.6 ounces, a little bit heavier than some people might like for a knife of this size. Your balance is right about here, so honestly the balance feels good. You have a 3.3 inch blade for 4.6 ounces of weight. A little heavy for some people, not too heavy for me, but I can understand why it might be heavy for some people. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. So we're going to use a T8 just so I can show you that the standard bits of hardware are T8, right? We have the pivot, we got the body screws, you have the pocket clip screw, which actually does allow you to replace or switch this this pocket clip around. Let's just take the whole screw out so that you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So if we remove this screw, which goes all the way through, this pocket clip should actually come out of its little nesting zone. And you can see right there that this does nest completely inside there. Now you can flip it over to the other side if you want to. It's really tight tolerances, as it should be. But yeah, lefties, you absolutely can utilize this. And I'm going to use this. This is such a genius system. They've got the inside of this captive, which means they only need one screw. You can design a symmetrical clip. You don't need a filler tab. You can quite literally just use a big screw. And this will work without creating that eyesore. I mean, there's going to be one guy who's like, I don't like how one of the screws is bigger to accommodate for that system. But yeah, like this is a good answer to that issue, right? And it's another example of why there's really no excuse for companies to not accommodate for left-handed people. I mean, unless the design is specifically trying to work around a specific aesthetic for the pocket clip, which is the case sometimes, right? A lot of times those are on far more expensive knives. Unlike standard production knives that are meant to appeal to not the everyman, but more of the everyman who's also a knife enthusiast. Yeah, like systems like these are obviously, I mean, like that's not that crazy of a system, right? So that's kind of great that they've got that there. Left-handed people can enjoy this despite it still being a right-handed frame lock. Now, as far as this goes right here, something it took me a sec in the unboxing. I edited it out because it just took me too much time. Whichever position you have it, like when you get this, the flipper tab is going to be back here, right? For the longest time, I could not figure out, like, why will the screw not go back into this other hole? It's clearly meant. Well, here's why. It's because they have this filler screw in here that is, as far as I can tell, a T5. Why this is here, I have no idea. But I mean, you can just, it's not required. I mean, like there it is, like it's just a hole, right? I guess you keep debris out and then like you can use that screw to deal with the debris. I have no idea, right? That's a T5. The screw you actually use to remove the screw that's holding in the tab is a T6, which I will just use. I'm just using like hand, whatever I can, apply with my hand on the bit, because I don't want this screw to strip. And I'm just really nervous about it getting stuck. It's just a little tiny screw that doesn't have a lot of threads, right? And so I'm a little reluctant to apply any crazy amount of torque to it. And I would suggest that you exercise that same caution. But we're gonna screw this in so that the flipper tab is in. I feel like I have this upside down. We're gonna screw this in so that the flipper tab is now moved from the front flipper position to the standard flipper position. And it's not nearly as hard as I'm making it seem. It's actually pretty easy. So here we go. We've got that hand tight. That's actually the easiest way to deploy this. Depending on who you are, you might buy this and want to switch it back and forth. maybe you don't want it there at all, which works just fine because you can use the fuller or the thumb stud, right? They're okay. Some people would say, why do I not have the option to just have both? In the unboxing, I said it'd be nice if they gave you 2 of these flipper tabs so that people who wanted both could have both. I'm going to put this screw back into the filler position just while I talk here. You could, but that's also like, it might be asking a little bit too much of Remette. So I don't know. I can understand why that's not a very good argument. I would say at least provide us with additional screws. Something that you definitely have to watch out for with these little T6 screws, and especially the little T5 screw, I don't know why it's necessary, is stripping it. And then it's either it just like comes out, right? And you can't get it back in, or it's in and it's just permanently in that position, right? So I think additional screws would be a really, really good idea. And I would also like an additional tab. I don't know how expensive that would be, an additional flipper tab so that you could have both. Or if you lose one, you have another one, right? The little extra parts there can create a situation that's irritating for people. So I like the idea. It's not the first time I've ever seen it. The Line Steel TRE has a removable flipper tab. They called that the 3 Rapid Exchange, which is basically just a removable thumb tab thing and a removable flipper tab, giving you technically 3 choices to have a flipper tab, a thumb stud, or no system, or all the systems. So I guess, okay, technically 3. But it doesn't allow you to replace or make the flipper tab into a front flipper. This definitely works a lot better because the D10 is tuned really, really nicely for the flipper tab and the front flipper. It works really, really well. This did not come off the entire time I had it, like I said, but I would be worried. And again, I would assume people would also worry and want to add like Loctite to it, which might result in you stripping it if you ever want to take it back out. So something to think about, but I think that's cool, and I wouldn't mind seeing that system on future models. So anyways, the action is good. I think the best way to deploy the knife is definitely with the flipper in the rear position. I guess we've done everything else. Let's move on into the meat and potatoes. You know what? Even with the flipper tab in this position, it is ergonomically superior removing the flipper tab or putting it in the front flipper position. But man, this is a big roomy choil. Really, really nice, and they've added jimping way out here. This is super comfortable. It does feel good. It also feels good in the standard grip, right? The choked back, I guess, whatever you want to call that. This has a compound blade, which shouldn't be super difficult to touch up. I'm not sure why they want the thicker part here and the thinner part here. I can't come up with a specific task that's made easier by that specific type of compound blade, but whatever. I think for the most part, it's like it just looks cool. And our the option otherwise was just to make it like a fully flat ground blade or a mostly flat ground blade, and we're just like making it look cool. So okay, at least it's got a continuous edge that you can sharpen without having to change angles. Got a swedge up here, a little fuller, says Remette on this side and M390 over here. As usual, the fit and finish is very, very good. I'll let you guys take a look at the plunge grind here. Thickens out reasonably fast. Some people will say it doesn't matter. Some people will say they don't like how that looks. It's up to you, right? But yeah, the fit and finish is great. I just wish that the action was slightly smoother out of the box. It's not bumpy. It doesn't feel like they over tightened it from the factory. It just feels like, I could loosen it up and make it smoother, but then the blade would come off center, and it's perfectly centered right now. I wish those surfaces were smoothed out a little bit. I think the action could be improved slightly. Some Remette knives come like really, really good, and some of them come fine, but they could be a little bit better. This is kind of one of those knives. The rest of the knife, there's not really a whole lot going on here. It's contoured. I do like the crowning on the backspacer. There's a little jimping back here on the end of the backspacer, and then there's a lanyard hole that would be a little bit, well, not too tricky. I guess you can kind of stuff the lanyard in there back there from the back side. That'll be fine. In and out of the pocket's pretty good. This almost wants to angle down, and it is a bit pinchy with that little ceramic ball, but far from the worst that I have experienced. It's fine. You have a filler tab. Not a filler tab. I'm mixing my terms up today. We have a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel, which is pretty typical. You have the thumb studs acting as the stops here, which is fine because you do have little housing areas. That's all you need. I like that. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No lock stick. No double clutch. No pivot lash. Just kind of like there's friction, and then like I can feel a little bit, like it almost feels like it needs to be blown out with compressed air. Your experience might vary here. D10 is really nice, and we have perfect centering. Base price of this knife is $250. Is this a knife that everybody needs? No. $250, there's a lot of really, really nice knives out there. But Remette does deliver a really nice product at $250. And this has all of the things like the basic checklist that I look for when I'm looking at $250 premium Chinese production knives. It is contoured titanium. There's little accents like the pivot collar, which we didn't really talk about. I think that looks nice, right? They have the compound blade. It's M390. You have a neat little extra system. It's not anything crazy, but you know, sometimes at this price point, it's like, you know, maybe you could have like added some texturing or some inlays. They did do a little extra work here on the backspacer, and I do like the pocket clip. I love that it's reversible. But the fact that you can remove the flipper tab and switch it around to the other side, that's kind of neat. Really, it has all of the basic stuff that I look for. The price doesn't blow me away. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's what I expect. I don't know that this is a knife for absolutely everybody, but I think it is actually built with a lot of people in mind. I think that the average person would pick this up and say, yeah, this is pretty easy to use. I kind of like that I can put the flipper tab in whatever position I want. So not a knife that I think you should be rushing out to, you know, prioritize in 2025, but generally speaking, a good knife. There's nothing really bad here. They just really should have included extra screws and maybe an extra tab just in case you lose it, or you want to have both a front flipper and a rear flipper at the same time, which obviously there's a market for because there are tons of knives out there that have both. So yeah, it's good enough. I think I would, generally speaking, I would say it's a recommendable knife, but nothing absolutely super crazy special. So that's going to be about it today, guys. Thanks so much to Remette for sending this in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.